On Iran's side is concerned, that still continues unabated and relentless. Massive airstrikes that has been reported targeting Iran's IRGC headquarters, and this is by the Special Forces Unit in Isfahan. Now, Isfahan is one of those cities there in Iran that has been hit by US before. President Trump had shared pictures. However, what location or facility in Isfahan, that wasn't clarified or confirmed. Will, when it comes to the destruction of IRGC, the headquarters, because it is mainly the IRGC which is running Iran now, destruction of its military site will have any impact?
You see, Amita, there are 31 districts in Iran, and 31 IRGC headquarters are based all over this 17 lakh square kilometers of Iran. So from these visuals, I can make out this seems to be an ammunition dump, because the flames, the way it is going about is, and it was reported also, I believe, that in Isfahan, an ammunition facility was targeted. And what one can make out from the visuals is those thick smoke and fireball and all that. It directly reflects onto a kind of an explosive strike. And therefore, I could assume from these visuals that it looks like an ammunition dump facility of the IRGC.
But Abhijit, as far as retaliation on Iran is concerned, it's been strategic and it's been precise. And more of a tit-for-tat response. When it comes to US military bases, US consulates, then refineries and energy infrastructure, financial hub, airports, and now even threat to US corporates.
Absolutely. What we've seen is, a lot of the pro-America commentary will tell you that the number of missile attacks by Iran has come down. This is true. The issue is that even those fewer attacks, Amrita, have become much more accurate and much more focused. They are now hitting extremely precise targets in a way we did not think was possible. Now, we don't know how that is happening. Maybe there is targeting support from the Russians or the Chinese, most possibly, but they are doing very precise hits. Now, if you look at the market reaction to this, the market was actually expecting Trump to come out and give some concrete plan on how he is going to open up the Hormuz Straits. But historically, if you look at it, straits are very, very easy to control. Passage through the straits is not based on if you control the straits or not. It is based on the risk of getting hit. If there's even a 1 in 100 chance that a drone may hit you, none of the insurance companies will cover you. And the risk becomes impossible for any of the tanker operators or owners to sustain.
But Abhijit, would it be right to say that what is the biggest weapon that Iran has? I mean, when it comes to nuclear facilities that America says it has obliterated, missiles, the Shahid drones, or it is the Strait of Hormuz, which is it has weaponized in a way?
It is a combination of all of these. The Straits of Hormuz is economic leverage on the rest of the world, because that's 20% of the oil moving from there. The missiles are what basically creates that deterrence around Hormuz, as well as destabilizing all the financial markets and economies of all the Gulf states. Remember, they are all oil dependent. Sure, Dubai, the Emirates, has diversified very significantly, but they are still dependent on the export of gas and oil. And that is simply not going to happen with these missiles and the nuclear facilities. Can I also say, historically, if you look at it, the Vietnamese did it twice in Bac Dang. The Greeks did it to the Persians in Salamis. Just recently in World War I, you have the Dardanelles, the completely disastrous Dardanelles campaign of the of Winston Churchill and the Allies. Straits are very, very easy to shut down. Yes. The amount of effort you have to put into opening them is absolutely disproportionate. If I can draw a comparison, think of it this way.
Yes.
There does not have to be a terror attack in Kashmir every single day. But just one terror attack is enough to keep tourists away from Kashmir for 5 to 6 months. It is the same thing.
Well,
Just
that seems to be the ripple effect, because as far as oil tankers, which Iran believes to be its enemy or the allies of the enemy, that has been attacked. When we've seen quite a dramatic escalation when pictures have come in of oil tankers set ablaze near the Strait of Hormuz. But as far as when it comes to continuous strikes are concerned, on part of US and Israel, in the latest, what we are getting to know that a senior advisor to Iran's supreme leader, Kamal Kharasgi, has been injured in the US-Israeli strike on his Tehran residence. So this is something which Israel has been doing. I mean, when it comes to sharing pictures and its leaders to eliminate kind of a hit list. When it comes to military leadership, the religious leadership, as far as the supreme leader on day one, he was eliminated. That is something that Israel seems to be, ticking the boxes. However, it seems that a senior advisor to Iran's supreme leader seems to have been injured in the strike that had happened in Tehran. But what the Iranian president has to say, because this time, this seems to be a similar approach of what President Trump had been initially calling for a regime change and asking the people of Iran to rise up against their own government, because he wanted to ride on that very anti-government wave of the protests that happened back in Iran in December, end onwards. But that did not happen. And this is what Iran is now doing. Iranian president writing to the people there of the United States of America, asking them that even did you consent for this war? Is it popular? Is it something that you really wanted? Is President Trump acting in your best interest? Because the unpopularity chart otherwise, Kocher sir, will rise immensely for President Trump. I mean, he has to face, as far as when it comes to the midterm is concerned, and there seems to be a certain climb down. What has already been stated in today's address, what do you have to say on this?
You see, Pezeshkian has made a very important message to the Americans, the way Trump had made to the Iranians at the start of the war. So I think a similar kind of strategic signaling is going around, and already we have discussed how Trump has been impacted. His popularity has been impacted in the United States. Republicans also are speaking openly now against him. His MAGA base has going against him now. So I think these are important narratives which are playing out in this war. And today, I believe this war, and when we talk of attrition war, because Sindoor was also an attrition war, and this war is also a war of attrition, it is one in the minds of the people, because there is no clear-cut area of announcing victory in this war, because there is no land which has been captured, which you can say that you won the war, and the loss of aircrafts and the loss of missiles are contradictory statements, because it cannot be verified on ground. So this war I see playing in the minds of the narrative, and the way which country is able to put its narrative across, and therefore this statement of Pezeshkian being made to the Americans is again building up on the minds of the Americans.
I mean, sir, this is also one of the angles there, because with the leadership being eliminated one by one, Iranian president is there, so is the foreign minister. In fact, they made a rare public appearance during these night rallies, which they refer to as the Islamic Republic Day, where he had made that appearance. But Abhijit, what happens to President Trump's future plans? I mean, is Cuba sighing a relief? Is there a sigh of relief over there? And what happens to Greenland next?
Look, I think Greenland and Cuba are in fact in greater trouble now, because there is no way that you can pass this off as a success. Victory is a political concept. You can actually win every single battle, win militarily, and still appear the loser in the war. And that is exactly, there is no doubt that the Americans are hammering the living daylights out of the Iranians and Iranian capabilities. But the fact remains that in the public view, which is the only thing that really matters, America has already lost this war. When you climb down from your very first promise of regime change to no regime change suddenly, that entire logic is out of the window, number one. How is he going to react to that? He needs to shore things up. I suspect he will see Cuba as an easy victory, or worse still, he will see Greenland as the easiest victory because the Danish military is not going to they've got like what, 94 troops stationed in Greenland. I don't think 94 troops are going to cut it. Cuba might actually give more resistance. If I were a betting man, I'm not, but if I were a betting man, I would say Greenland is going to go first and then Cuba next.
All right. But even as far as his today's address is concerned, though there were hints and possibilities, but over the certain climb down, President Trump has not so far mentioned about the possibility of boots on ground, as far as other leaders in his administration were, giving that kind of hints there. Remains to be seen, is a Kharg Island takeover then possible? Because that also seems to be something that President Trump earlier wasn't ruling out. However, there has been a drastic change as far as his statement is also concerned. What happens next? I mean, military infrastructure on Kharg Island destroyed, but will the oil infrastructure too, because it is also the main lifeline to Iran and its energy infrastructure and facilities. We just have to head into a very, very quick break. Of course, what President Trump has said, we're going to delve into the details there, and rather what he's not mentioned in his today's address to the nation, that is also something that we're going to focus on. Back after a short break.